I keep telling the people that I'm going to have an abbreviated service today for the simple reason that we have only 10 people here. I look around and I think of the scriptures that we're like sheep scattered abroad. So we keep that in mind. But I can remember when I went to Kentucky Christian College down here in Gracie, Kentucky. I was 18 years of age. And I want to share with you that I was always a fatso. I was always big and fat. When I graduated from high school, I was one of the fattest people in the graduating class, and that was a class of about 200 or 300. But I went there and I made some friends with some of the boys that were there that were exercise freaks. Boy, they had a set of barbells. They had set up one of the rooms in the old administration building down there for exercise, having special permission to do so. And they came to me and they prevailed upon me to start exercising with them. Now, I want you to know that exercise was not in my thinking. Exercise was the last thing that I enjoyed. I enjoyed sitting down and eating as much as I could eat, getting up, then sitting back down and eating all I could eat. And that's why I was heavy. I've always been heavy. But these boys prevailed upon me to go with them. There was about 8 or 10 of them. And when they would go over, they would come and get me and go over. But I can remember the very first time that I went. One of the boys had worked in the YMCA as an exercise instructor. His name was Dean Speaks. And he said, I'm going to take over your personal training and I'm going to get you in shape. He failed. Then I can remember the night, the next day after I was there for the very first time. Oh, did I ache. Every muscle in my body was just aching like you would not believe. So I went to Dean. I said, Dean, I'm not going back. He said, oh, yes, you are. And I remember all those boys came to my room the next night that they were going to go over, and they prevailed upon me. The one phrase that I heard over and over and over and over again was very simple. No pain, no pain, no gain. The more you hurt, the more you're going to gain from the exercise. Several years ago, when I was preaching down in Corbin, Kentucky, several of the people were having a lot of difficulty in their lives, in the congregation. And one man came to me and says, good, it might be a good job for you to just preach on the adversities of life and how to deal with them. His name was Richard. His last name was Garcia. So I took him up on it and I prepared a series of lectures on dealing with problems. That series of lectures I called, If God Loves Me, Why Do I Have So Many Problems? And I'm sure you can relate to that particular subject. And I might say that these 6 lectures have been used in churches throughout our country. Down in Tennessee, it was used in about 4 or 5 churches down there. I know that one person from California tells me that they used them there, that they have been given to them, passed out through the churches. And I might say they did a good job. Right now, my computer blew the discs that I had them on. I cannot pull them off where I would use them as far as the church here is concerned. But I used this experience I have, no pain, no gain, to relate to some of the problems that we were facing in our lives today. And I would like to simply say, is there anybody here that has no problems? If you say that you have no problems, I'm going to tell you that I think you're lying. I think we all have problems. And the idea of adversity in the life of people have been impressed on my mind, and much more so over the past several months, of some of the things that I have seen and heard and witnessed in my life. Notice, if you will, some of the things I have listed here over the past several months. The Faust family had a TV go out, a microwave oven blow up, A water tank sprang a leak. Boy, you know those water bills when they come in like that. Automobiles that need repaired. A family member had a traumatic experience in her life. And the list can go on and on and on. And I don't know what we did to deserve all those problems, but it happens. About 3 weeks ago, I went to the grocery store, Kroger's in Proctorville, to pick up 1 or 2 items. I can't remember exactly why I went, but I figured when I went into the store that it would take about 15 minutes for me to go in and grab a hold of what I wanted and to come back out through the cash register, pay for it, and then come on out. 15, 20 minutes at the most. It took me over 2 hours. I didn't even get in the store when a woman stopped me and said, somebody tells me you're a preacher. I'd never seen the woman before in my life. Never. And I said, yes, ma'am, I preach at Baha'u'llah Church of Christ. She said, oh, Church of Christ, I go to the Church of Christ. I think she said degrees you read Church of Christ, which is non-instrumental. And then she proceeded to ask my advice about a situation she was facing in her life. I listened. I advised. She got upset and walked away angrily. I don't know whether what ever happened or not. I went into the store and about 3 or 4 other people took me aside and they started talking to me about problems in their life. One gentleman who lost his wife about the same time I did, he's in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. He told me, he says, I'm starting to date and my kids are fighting me because I'm dating somebody. How would you handle it if you were starting dating? And I looked at him and said, Dave, I would not have that problem, but for the simple reason I can't afford to take anybody out. And we talked for a while, and I told him, I said, which is more important, your dating or your family? I said, is it more important for you to do what keep your kids happy in the faith, or more important for you to go out and have a good time? He said, thanks. What turned out to be a 15-minute grocery shopping chore ended up to be about 2 hours or more. People have problems. I cannot help but think of all the Christian people that are being executed because of their faith by the Islamic people over in the Middle East. Last Thursday, I was talking to Tim Hall, who was to be our speaker this morning, and by the way, my senility. I had in my notes it was the 19th, he had in his notes it was the 26th. We talked about both dates, and I was walking at HIMG at the time that we called and made the arrangements. But he told me that his 17-year-old daughter was just diagnosed with MS. And I could tell from Tim's voice that he was very distraught about it. Now, next Sunday afternoon, we're going to have to do away with the pizza luncheon. Because next Sunday afternoon at Rita Park, they're having a rally of some sort for people that have autoimmune diseases, especially MS. And he wants to be there because he says, I want to learn all I can about the disease. And so he's going to be there. And I promised him that we would pray for her, Alyssa. Yesterday, while at a restaurant, this cook that Mike was talking about came up to me. And his name is Jeremy. And he says, Phil, he says, would you pray and have your church pray for my grandparents? Now, Jim asked me, he says, how can one be in Tennessee and the other in the high? He says, one's on the mother's part and the other's on the father's side. He said, oh, okay. His grandmother's in the hospital, not doing too good. In fact, they don't expect her to live. The father, Earl Henry, there's a little story there. He gave me his name, Earl Henry, and I looked at him and said, hey, by the way, did he ever have a brother by the name of Buzz? He said, sure, my Uncle Buzz. And I said, well, I want you to know I went to college with him. He and I were acquaintances, and I can't say we were good friends, but we were friends. And we preached at the same church. He is from the Sixth Adventist Church of Christ. And so he has dementia. Let this go on and on and on and on. I am confident because of many things that you have told me about you and some of the things that you have gone through that I could add to the list. And I feel I need to examine, I need to go and explore in depth the idea of having adversities in our life. And after Tim speaks next week, the next couple of weeks, we're going to be dealing with this idea of adversities in our life. How do we deal with it? And I think we need to realize, without any doubt in our mind, that adversities are not peculiar to Christian people. You talk to a non-Christian, they have problems. You talk to somebody who's not a Christian, and they can give you a list yea long of things that are wrong in their life, things that they have to deal with as time goes on. I'm always reminded of the words of Jesus Christ when he spoke in the Sermon on the Mount talking about our relationship to those that's not Christian. And he says that ye may be the children, Matthew 5:45, by the way, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he makes the sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Problems, adversity, temptation, trials, tribulation is common to all people. The difference, and I want you to think about this, and think about it seriously. The difference is very simple. How does a Christian deal with the problems? They deal with it differently than those who are non-Christian. We mourn over the loss of loved ones, but not without hope. We endure problems in our life, but we know that we can cast all our cares upon Him, and that God cares for us. One scripture comes out. Romans, the 8th chapter, the 28th verse, and I think we use it in a very much so much that we are become a little bit trite in our using it. We know that all things work together for good to those that love God and to those that are called according to His purpose. All things work together for good. I hope you noticed that doesn't say that only good things are going to happen to us. That's not what it says. It says all things, and talking about the bad things that happen in our life, that God can make them good things. He can bring good. In other words, He can make a person out of a sow's ear. Or He can make a flower out of a cactus. Or whatever. Two individuals come to my mind. Joseph. Poor old Joseph, hated by his brother, taken and sold into slavery by the brothers, and his brothers went back and lied to his father about his being killed by a wild beast. He was sold to slavery to Potiphar, whose wife tried to seduce him and then blamed him for it. He was cast into prison for no reason at all. And finally, through the will of God, was raised to the second power in the country of Egypt, a mighty, mighty country. But notice what he said. Beginning in Genesis 45, 1 through 7, real quickly. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him. While Joseph made himself known to his brothers all that were there. He said, I am Joseph. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians of the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph, doth my father yet live? But I want you to notice, he says, the things that have been done to me, the things that I went through, the hardships, the tribulations, the trials that I went through, were done to be able to preserve for God a nation. And that's in this passage of Scripture. By the way, I might say that one of the things they found out yesterday when I went in my eye exams, I'm seeing double. That's why I'm having difficulty reading. I have to have more prism put in my there. But Joseph realized that what he endured was for the benefit of God. We look at Paul. Paul prayed that the thorn in his flesh might be taken from him. And God's answer was, my grace is sufficient for you. My grace is sufficient for you. How do you know that the things that you endure will not be used by God for His glory? Ruth, I'm going to say something, and I hope I don't offend you. But as all you might know, that Ruth has an incurable disease called Crohn's. She's also in drug and alcohol counseling. And she uses her disease to be able to help people that are addicts to overcome their addiction. Right, Ruth? An adversity in her life is being used for the benefit of others. Praise God for it. Praise God. I am mindful this morning of the book of Revelation. The 7 churches of Asia to whom this book was written. 7 churches. The 2nd and 3rd chapters of the book of Revelation deal with these letters to these churches. In every one, without exception, when Jesus is dictating these letters to the angels of the churches, and I think the angels are referring to the preachers or the minister, the leaders of that particular congregation, to everyone, he makes a promise. And the condition of that promise is, he that overcomes will I give. We need to be overcomers. We need to be overcomers. No matter what you endure in your life, endure it for the glory of God. No matter what you experience, realize that God can use them, those experiences, be able to proclaim the name of Christ in our community. And realize that you need to be an overcomer to be able to receive the promises of God. We're going to be singing one verse of Just As I Am. Does any here that needs to make a decision for Christ? We invite you to come as we stand.